Every morning you wake up, your voice is a weapon. But every day you stay silent, that weapon rusts. Every day you don't speak up, you chip away at the foundation of who you are. Confidence isn't built in the shadows, it's forged in the fire of action. And silence is the thief of your power. Every time you choose silence over speech, a quiet thief creeps into your mind. It doesn't arrive with a bang, it slips in like fog, subtle, insidious. That thief is self-doubt. At first, it seems harmless, a fleeting thought that maybe you shouldn't speak up, that maybe your opinion isn't important. But over days, weeks, months, that tiny seed of doubt grows roots. Silence allows uncertainty to settle, and once uncertainty takes hold, it clouds your perception of yourself. What you once believed to be strength begins to feel like inadequacy. And before you know it, your confidence isn't just shaken, it's eroding. Every unspoken word, every moment you hold back, whispers a dangerous lie. You're not enough. The problem with silence is that it gives your mind too much time to question itself. When you don't express your ideas, your thoughts start looping back on themselves. You analyze, you overthink, you replay every possible scenario where you could fail. In isolation, your imagination becomes a courtroom and you are always on trial. Your brain begins to measure your worth not by what you do, but by what you don't. Every day of quiet turns into another layer of hesitation. Confidence is not a static trait. It is a living, breathing force that demands attention and action. Without exercise, without challenge, it atrophies. Silence, though comfortable, is a prison for potential. And it's not just about what you lose internally. It's about the external world's perception of you. When you stay silent, people begin to fill the gaps with their own interpretations. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, for disinterest, or for lack of competence. Your absence of voice becomes louder than any words you could have spoken. You start to internalize that perception, wondering if perhaps your silence is what others are really seeing: a person who doesn't belong, a person who doesn't matter. Over time, the alignment of self-doubt and external perception forms a mirror, reflecting back a version of yourself that is smaller, quieter, less daring. This is why silence is dangerous. It doesn't just conceal your voice from others, it diminishes it in your own mind. Another subtle but devastating effect of silence is how it rewires your confidence through habit. Every time you avoid speaking up, your mind reinforces the behavior as normal. You tell yourself, I'll speak later, I'll share my idea next time. But next time becomes the time after, and then the time after that, until speaking up feels unnatural, even frightening. Confidence isn't built by intention alone, it is built by repetition. When your habits revolve around avoidance, your brain starts to associate risk with fear and hesitation. Over time, the mere thought of expressing yourself triggers anxiety instead of empowerment. This is the quiet erosion, not an event, but a process. Each unspoken word, each missed opportunity adds another brick to the wall, separating you from the confident person you could be. Silence also has a way of magnifying failure before it happens. When you don't speak, your imagination runs unchecked. You imagine rejection, ridicule, mistakes, every possible way your words could be judged harshly. The more you dwell in that silence, the more these imagined failures grow into paralyzing visions. And here is the cruel irony: none of it has actually happened. Silence doesn't protect you from failure. It amplifies fear, allowing hypothetical dangers to dictate your actions. The confidence you might have had is not lost because of others, but because of your own unwillingness to act. Fear and self-doubt are not born from experience. They are born from hesitation. Finally, silence corrodes the inner dialogue that sustains confidence. Confidence is nurtured by affirmation, by the small victories of expression, by the reinforcement that your thoughts and voice have impact. When you withhold your voice, you deny yourself those affirmations. You rob your own mind of proof that you are capable, that you are worthy, that your ideas matter. Self-doubt fills that vacuum with questions instead of answers, with hesitation instead of momentum. And what begins as a single day of quiet can turn into a pattern, a lifestyle, a subconscious belief that your voice is not meant to be heard. Every moment of silence, no matter how small, chips away at the bedrock of self-assurance, leaving you standing on shaky ground when you finally must act. Confidence is not something that exists in the abstract. It is not a feeling that waits patiently for the perfect moment to arrive. Confidence is earned, proven, and reinforced through action. Every time you step forward, speak up, or assert yourself in the face of fear, you are telling the world, and more importantly, yourself, that your thoughts and ideas have value. Words are powerful, but they are hollow without action. Action transforms belief from an internal notion into a visible force. It is the bridge between thought and reality, the proof that what you think is not just imagined. It is real, impactful, and worthy of attention. When you choose action over hesitation, your brain receives a powerful signal. I am capable. I am competent. I am enough. Confidence thrives on this feedback loop. Every small victory, every choice to act despite uncertainty strengthens the neural pathways that support courage and self-assurance. Action is the body's way of confirming the mind's intentions. In contrast, prolonged inaction sends the opposite message. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I don't belong. Maybe I'm not strong enough. This is why action is more than just doing. It is a declaration of belief in your own potential. Silence, by contrast, allows doubt to fill the spaces where action could have spoken. Acting, even imperfectly, also redefines the narrative you tell yourself. The first time you raise your hand, speak in a meeting, or share an idea publicly, you confront the fear that has been controlling you. You discover that the consequences are rarely as catastrophic as your imagination predicted. You learn experientially that mistakes are temporary, judgment is fleeting, and growth is ongoing. Confidence grows not in perfection, but in persistence. Each action, each attempt is a reaffirmation. I am more than my hesitation. I am more than my fear. Without action, this realization never arrives. You remain trapped in the self-imposed cage of silence. There is also a contagious energy in action. When you step forward, your energy radiates outward. People notice. Opportunities emerge. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open because the world responds to those who move. Action validates belief externally as well as internally. The person who acts projects confidence, even when they do not yet feel it fully, creating a feedback loop where action inspires respect, recognition, and influence. Conversely, silence conceals your abilities, keeps your talents invisible, and ensures that your potential remains unrealized. Action is the amplifier of self-worth. Without it, your belief remains faint, like a whisper in a crowded room. Moreover, action combats the paralysis that comes from overthinking. Fear and hesitation thrive in inactivity. Your mind, left unchecked, magnifies risks, invents obstacles, and inflates doubts. Action disrupts this cycle. It forces you out of speculation and into reality. By moving, speaking, creating, or asserting yourself, you shift your brain from imagining worst-case scenarios to producing tangible outcomes. Every effort, even if imperfect, chips away at the imagined barriers that silence builds. The act of doing teaches lessons that thinking alone cannot. Lessons about resilience, adaptability, and self-reliance. Finally, action creates a history of proof that strengthens confidence over time. Each time you take a step, you build a record of courage and accomplishment that becomes impossible to ignore. Even failures become evidence of persistence, not weakness. Silence, by contrast, leaves no record. It leaves no proof that you tried, no evidence that you mattered, no tangible affirmation that your voice or your presence has weight. Confidence is sustained by this tangible proof, the memory of your actions and their effects. When you act consistently, your belief in yourself grows exponentially. Without action, belief remains theoretical. With it, belief becomes unshakable. Fear is cunning. It does not announce itself with a roar. It sneaks in through the back door, disguised as silence. Every time you choose not to speak, not to act, not to assert yourself, fear finds a foothold. It whispers in the shadows, better to stay hidden, better to wait. What if you fail? The more you indulge silence, the more comfortable fear becomes. It starts small, a twinge of hesitation, a fleeting doubt, but over time, it grows into a constant companion, shadowing your every thought and shaping your decisions. Silence is fear's playground, and when you stay quiet, you are giving fear permission to dictate your life. When you remain silent, fear becomes the default voice in your mind. Your imagination, left unchecked, begins to replay all the worst-case scenarios, exaggerating risks and inflating dangers. What could have been a simple conversation becomes a mental battlefield. What could have been a single question now feels like a monumental challenge. And the cruelest trick fear plays is that it convinces you that your silence is safety. But silence is not protection. It is stagnation. It does not shield you from the unknown. It chains you to it. Every day of quiet reinforces the lie that inaction is safer than expression, when in reality, courage is the only antidote to fear. Fear hides behind quiet because it thrives on uncertainty. When you don't speak, your mind begins to invent dangers that may not exist at all. You imagine judgment, rejection, ridicule, and failure as if they are certainties. And in these imagined scenarios, you build walls so high that even thinking about action becomes paralyzing. Fear is most potent when it is invisible, and silence gives it invisibility. Each unspoken word, each withheld idea is another brick in the fortress that separates you from opportunity. And the tragedy is that the world outside is rarely as unforgiving as your mind tells you. It is your silence, not the reality of failure, that is holding you back. The relationship between fear and silence is cyclical. Fear encourages silence, and silence strengthens fear. The longer you avoid stepping forward, the more your mind learns that hesitation is normal, even necessary. Over time, this cycle becomes so ingrained that courage feels foreign. Speaking up, taking action, asserting your presence begins to trigger anxiety instead of empowerment. Your own mind becomes your obstacle, and fear, once a visitor, now becomes a permanent resident. Silence is fertile ground for this process. It nourishes worry, doubt, and avoidance. The longer you allow silence to dominate, the more fear claims ownership of your life. Breaking this cycle requires confrontation. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of it. Every time you speak, every time you act, every time you assert yourself despite the quivering voice in your head, you are telling fear that it does not control you. Fear is only as strong as the space you give it. By filling silence with action, expression, and presence, you shrink the room in which fear can operate. Every small step forward chips away at the power of quiet. And slowly, what once paralyzed you becomes manageable. Courage grows in the cracks left by fear, but only if silence is disrupted. Finally, understanding that fear hides behind quiet allows you to reclaim your confidence. Silence may feel safe, but it is deceptive. Real safety lies in facing the unknown, challenging hesitation, and refusing to let imagined risks dictate your behavior. Every moment you choose speech over silence, action over inaction, presence over hiding, you weaken fear's hold on your mind. Confidence is not born from comfort. It is forged in the fire of confrontation, in the act of refusing to let fear define your life. The quiet is not your ally, it is the accomplice of fear. To regain control, you must speak, act, and exist fully, even when fear says otherwise. Opportunities do not wait. They do not pause for perfection, for confidence to swell, or for fear to subside. Every moment of silence is a moment where doors remain closed, where chances pass by unseen, unnoticed, or unclaimed. Life rewards the bold, the ones who step forward, the ones who speak up when it matters most. When you stay quiet, you allow the world to move without you. Ideas that could have sparked change, conversations that could have opened doors, chances that could have transformed your path, all slip by in the absence of action. Every day of silence is a missed opportunity, and the cost is far greater than you realize. When you hesitate to share your thoughts or act on your ideas, you give others the chance to fill the space you left empty. Someone else steps up, someone else claims the opportunity, and the window you thought might wait for you quietly closes. Life does not pause because you are not ready. Opportunities favor those who engage, who risk, who do not wait for everything to be perfect before speaking, acting, or asserting themselves. Silence is not safety, it is absence. The world moves forward, and when you remain quiet, you risk being left behind. Opportunity is intimately tied to timing. The perfect moment rarely exists. Waiting for it is an illusion that robs you of your power. Every moment of hesitation, every unspoken word, every withheld idea allows the chance to slip into someone else's hands. Confidence is built when you recognize that you cannot control every outcome, but you can control whether you show up, acting in spite of uncertainty, speaking, asserting, participating. Ensures that you are in the arena when opportunity arrives. Silence guarantees you are not. Opportunities are also the currency of growth. Every time you step into a chance, every time you take a risk, you stretch yourself, you expand your abilities, and you prove to yourself what you are capable of. When you stay silent, that currency is never spent, growth is stunted. You remain in the same place, trapped in a loop of what could have been. Confidence, like any skill, is honed through practice, through engagement, through seizing the moments that challenge you. Silence deprives you of those moments, leaving your potential untapped and your power dormant. There is a subtle but devastating effect of consistent quiet. The habit of missed opportunity begins to define your reality. Each unspoken thought, each enacted idea becomes part of a pattern that reinforces hesitation. Your mind starts to expect that chances will pass, that doors will remain closed, and that you are not meant for the roles or recognition that come with seizing them. And this pattern erodes confidence faster than any failure ever could. It is not the missed opportunity itself that breaks you. It is the habit of absence, the repeated choice to remain quiet that convinces your mind that you are less capable than you truly are. Finally, understanding that opportunities are lost in quiet moments is a call to action. Silence is seductive because it feels safe, but it comes at the highest cost. Confidence grows in the space where risk meets action, where presence meets courage, where ideas are expressed rather than suppressed. Every chance you do not take, every moment you do not speak is a test of your self-belief, and silence is always the losing move. To reclaim your power, you must step into the moments others overlook, act when hesitation tempts you, and speak when fear whispers to stay quiet. The world waits for no one, but it rewards those who refuse to stay silent. Your presence in the world is measured not just by what you do, but by what you express. Every word you speak, every action you take, broadcasts a message about who you are and what you believe. But silence is also a message, one that can speak louder than words. When you consistently withhold your thoughts, your ideas, or your voice, people begin to form judgments in the absence of information. They fill the silence with assumptions, often assuming hesitation for weakness, indifference for lack of interest, or doubt for incompetence. Silence shapes perception, and perception shapes opportunity. The danger of this is subtle but relentless. People may not explicitly say you are less capable or confident, but their behavior toward you reflects it. You are passed over for roles, ideas are ignored, and leadership opportunities bypass you, not because you lack skill or insight, but because your silence has signaled hesitation or lack of initiative. Confidence is not just felt internally, it is projected externally. And when you stay quiet, you deny others the chance to see your strength, your intelligence, and your value. In effect, silence undermines both your self-perception and the perception others hold of you. Silence also influences relationships. Whether in the workplace, in social settings, or even in family dynamics, withholding your voice communicates passivity. People begin to expect less of you, to involve you less in meaningful discussions, to consult you less when decisions are being made. Every unspoken idea reinforces a pattern where you are seen as a spectator rather than a participant, a follower rather than a leader. Confidence is not just about inner belief. It is about presence, participation, and contribution. Silence erodes that presence and allows others to write the story of your capabilities for you. Another critical effect is the reinforcement of self-doubt. When people respond to your silence with diminished expectations, it confirms the fears that may already exist in your mind. You start to believe that perhaps your voice does not matter, that your opinions are not worth sharing, and that hesitation is justified. Silence becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The quieter you are, the less you are recognized, and the less recognized you feel, the quieter you become. Confidence weakens not because of others' judgment, but because of the feedback loop created by your own absence. Moreover, silence limits your influence. Every person who remains quiet forfeits their power to inspire, to persuade, and to shape outcomes. Influence is not built on invisibility. It is built on engagement, clarity, and the courage to speak. When you fail to express your ideas, offer guidance, or contribute to discussion, you remove yourself from the sphere where decisions are made and impact is felt. Confidence is strengthened when others see you act, lead, and speak with purpose. Silence, by contrast, allows your potential impact to remain unrealized. Finally, understanding that silence shapes how others see you is both a warning and an opportunity. Every day you choose not to speak, not to act, not to assert yourself, you are shaping the world's perception of who you are. And it may not be the person you know yourself to be. Confidence is a force that is both internal and external, and it is built when your actions and words align with your abilities and values. By breaking the habit of silence, you assert not only your presence, but your worth. You reclaim control over how you are perceived, how you are valued, and how you influence the world around you. Silence may speak, but your voice has the power to redefine the story entirely. Every word you speak leaves a mark, whether you realize it or not. Your voice is more than just sound. It is a record of your courage, your belief, and your presence in the world. Each idea shared, each truth voiced, contributes to a legacy that endures beyond fleeting moments. Silence, by contrast, erases your presence from the narrative. Every day of quiet is a day where your influence, your insight, and your individuality remain invisible. Your voice is not just for today. It is the story you leave behind. To remain silent is to leave a blank page where your impact could have been written. A legacy is not built by inaction. It is forged in moments of expression, assertion, and engagement. When you choose to speak, to act, to contribute. You plant seeds that will grow long after you've left the room. People remember those who take risks, who dare to stand, who refuse to let fear dictate their presence. Silence, however, creates gaps in that history. It allows others to fill in your story with assumptions, to underestimate your abilities, and to overlook your contributions. Confidence thrives when you leave tangible proof of your presence, and your voice is the most powerful tool you have to do that. Moreover, your voice shapes not just how others remember you, but how you remember yourself. When you speak up, you create a living record of your growth, your courage, and your choices. Every expressed idea, every acted decision reinforces the truth of your capability. Silence robs you of this record. It allows your mind to focus on what could have been instead of what is. Your legacy is not just about others' memories. It is about the tangible proof you carry in your own mind, evidence of your strength and your persistence. Each day of silence subtracts from that proof, leaving you with a version of yourself that is smaller than reality. Your voice is also an inheritance to others. When you share your thoughts, your wisdom, your perspective, you give others permission to do the same. Courage is contagious. One person breaking their silence can inspire a room, a community, even generations. By remaining quiet, you deny the world the gift of your influence, the inspiration that could ripple outward. Your legacy is not just personal, it is communal. Every time you speak, you contribute to the culture of courage and self-expression around you. Every day of silence is a day where that ripple goes unmade. There is a profound truth in understanding that your voice is your legacy. What you leave behind is determined not by your intentions, but by your actions. Words unspoken, thoughts unshared, and ideas left dormant vanish into the void. Life does not remember intentions, it remembers presence. Confidence is strengthened when you consistently act in alignment with your potential. Every choice to break silence reinforces the fact that your life is not a series of missed opportunities. It is a series of intentional, visible acts that leave lasting impact. Finally, embracing the idea that your voice is your legacy reframes silence as a costly decision. Every day you remain quiet is a day you forfeit control over your story. Every unspoken thought is a lost chance to leave evidence of your strength, your insight, and your courage. Confidence is sustained when your voice consistently affirms your existence and your value. Your words, your actions, and your presence become a record, a testament to the life you live boldly and unapologetically. To break silence is to honor that legacy, to ensure that your life, your beliefs, and your contributions are remembered long after the moment has passed. So, hear me clearly. Every day of silence chips away at your confidence, steals your opportunities, and dims the light that only you can shine. But it doesn't have to be that way. Your voice is not just sound. It is proof of your courage. Your words are not just ideas. They are the legacy you leave behind. You cannot wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment does not exist. The only moment that matters is now. Step forward. Speak up. Take action. Challenge the fear that hides in the quiet. Claim the opportunities that wait for no one. Show the world and yourself that you are present, capable, and unstoppable. Confidence is not built in silence. It is built in action. It is built when your voice rises, when your presence is felt, when you refuse to be invisible. So from this moment on, let silence be no longer your refuge. Let it be the spark that reminds you what's at stake. Because every word you speak, every step you take, every act of courage shapes who you are and the legacy you leave. Speak, act, and exist boldly because the world is waiting for you to break the quiet. And when you do, there will be nothing left standing in your way.